Okay, fun story. This is a. I went to my local game store. I haven't been out of the house in a long time. I've been to conventions and stuff like that. I guess you could call that out of the house, but out of the house, enjoying myself, not working. I've been out with Scarlett a bunch of times, but what I'm saying is I went to my game store. I've actually not been to the game store in about a year and a half, and after going, there's probably a very good reason why I stopped going to the game store. It's because I got a real problem. You have no idea how much money I dropped at the local game store. Which, actually, when you take my normal purchases over the course of a year, when I did go regularly, probably was less than what I spent at the game store. But I got a lot of D&D stuff because I'm really liking the Essentials line as usual. And big news! If you know how I was complaining about the D&D Insider online character generation tools, I complained that the Dark Sun stuff wasn't on there and the Essential stuff wasn't on there. They've been really bad about updating it. Apparently, I got an email, pardon me, where they're basically discontinuing the character builder as we know it, but they're relaunching a new version based on Microsoft Silverlight on their website, which will apparently be an updated version with all the current stuff. I'll believe it when I see it, because, well, they've promised this kind of stuff before, but hey, better late than never, I guess. But the first thing that I got was the Dungeons & Dragons Essentials Heroes of the Forgotten Kingdoms book, which is different from the other one in that I'm actually a little puzzled by the composition of this book, because it's like this is a player's handbook, and hang on, the one I showed you is a player's handbook, like the one the one that had the fighter, the mage, the thief, the cleric. This is basically the core player's handbook, and it's got character generation rules. It's got descriptions of like the basics, melee attacks, hit points, healing, attack rolls, damage rolls, combat. The introduction to the game, what the game is like, definition of terms. It's basically a player's handbook, So you've got this. I'm like, all right, and you've got this, which is basically a player's handbook, but with 4 different core. It's actually more than 4, but 4 general character classes: druids, paladins, rangers, and warlocks, and each one of those has like 2 to 4 different options. So it's like different builds of clerics, different builds of druids and warlocks and stuff like that. But it does the same thing. It just has different classes, and I have to wonder if this is a little redundant. It is redundant, You've got this entire first quarter of the up to page 81 is all that is the same stuff that's in that book. And then you've got, at the end, I guess maybe some of the feats are different, but, the skill chapter, redundant. The feats, more than a little redundant. The equipment table, all redundant. So really, if you've got the last book, you're paying for this. And I guess, I don't know. I don't think you just play D&D with druids, paladins, rangers, and warlocks. Maybe. And again, it's especially redundant when you've got the rules compendium, the other book for the Essentials line. It just seems like kind of a lot of duplication of effort, and I'm not sure why. If they just released a class book, this thick, maybe they think like a thinner book isn't going to sell, or it should be. I have to think the reason for that is accessibility. Like, if you pick this up, like if you want to play D&D, you pick this up, and this is all you need to play. Or if you want to play a cleric, you pick that book up, and that's all you need to play. I guess. I'm not really sure. I wonder what the philosophy behind that one was. It doesn't matter to me. I guess it doesn't matter because I can just skip ahead, but I don't know. As for this book, I haven't read this as closely as I did the others, but there are some new things in it. It has the new races are, there's the Drow Elf, which seemed strange. Yeah, actually a lot of these are new. Dragonborn Drow, half elf, half orc, tiefling. So they're all new, pretty much all new, and the human, of course. I haven't read to see if they differ all that much from the 4th edition. I don't think they did. And again, this goes back to the Warlock is really a Hexblade, which is, if there's any class I think was really unnecessary, it was the Hexblade. Because that was one of those classes that even when 4th edition, when the Hexblade came out, I was like, okay, now we're starting to get like this too many classes rut. You know, we started doing like the Sword Mage and the Hexblade. What's the, what's the difference? I don't know. Sorry, my throat's getting dry. These classes look fine, I gotta tell you. The only one I really looked at was the Ranger, which again is a very back to basics type of Ranger. They have a few nature powers. It's really, you know, they introduced 2. They say like, okay, now I can't remember what the difference between the Druid and the Ranger was. One of them gets pets, basically. Let me see. Basically, the 2 Rangers are the Archery Ranger and the 2 Weapon Ranger. And let me see. Okay, it's Druids get pets. Yeah, Druids get pets. The way they define the Druids, and again, this is a little ass backwards if you ask me. They do this thing where they kind of half define each of the classes. So like they say, okay, here's the thing with the Druids and Essentials now. They dedicate themselves to one of the seasons. And so here's 2 of them. Because most Druids go spring and summer. Because those are like the good guy Druids tend to go spring and summer. You know, the fall and winter are kind of like life and decline, and so most Druids don't do that. And I'm like, all right. But why can't we see... Well, I tell you why we can't see them, winter and fall. It's because there's limited space in the book. Which again raises the question why you duplicated these, you know, duplicated the main combat rules when you could actually use this extra space and kind of define the winter and fall Druids instead of just 2, or Paladins. They say, okay, Paladins they dedicate themselves to a virtue, and here's 2 of them. They do sacrifice and valor. And yet there's a lot of other virtues they could choose from, and you know, I guess you could list 100 virtues, but 2 seems limited. And so that's kind of the way it is with almost all the Essentials classes. They list clerics. They go, okay, clerics, there's clerics of the sun and something else. Sun and like just goodness or something, you know. And sun and the storm. Sun and the storm. So they choose kind of 2 domains, and then they are very limited. And it reminds me of AD&D when they basically release a cleric handbook, one that's devoted exclusively to clerics, and they go, okay, here's like everything clerics can devote themselves to, and they list basically everything. They list spell lists. And so maybe it's a limitation of the way they've designed the classes, where every time you design a new class, you have to design essentially you have to design a new unique list of powers from levels 1 to 30 for every single class, and that's a design nightmare. You know, so besides that, you actually have to choose. You have to design all the unique powers from 1 to 10, and then you have to design several possible ways they could go from 11 to 20, and several possible ways they could go from 21 to 30. Because when you reach level 10, you choose a Paragon path, and there's lots of different paths from which to choose, and then you choose an Epic Destiny, and there's a lot of those from those which to choose. So I know. I do know why they didn't do this. Like, if they said, okay, well, if we did all 4 seasons, we'd have to do lists of Paragon Paths, Epic Destinies, and Powers for all 4 seasons. Fuck that. I get that. I don't know what to tell you. So it's a little problematic. And really, this is just a book with new classes, and they're good classes. You know, Paladins. And this is another thing. For the first time in the Essentials line, there is a class with alignment restrictions, which I think is... I hate to spur on the alignment argument, but it's going to start them again. If you're a paladin of the sacrifice virtue, you have to be lawful good. And I'm one of the only guys alive who likes the alignment system. And I don't argue about alignments anymore. In fact, when I start a game and if I'm enforcing alignments, I just tell you when I'm doing alignment. It's like, okay, when this is lawful good, and if I kind of, especially with clerics and paladins who are very very strictly defined by their alignments, I actually will pull clerics and paladins aside and I tell them basically what's expected of them and the penalties for not abiding by their general code of conduct, just to get any kind of ambiguities out of the way. You know, and if they disagree with me, I'll say, then don't play this class because you're not going to last. And so it's me being authoritarian, it's me being fascist as a DM, but it's good to get that out of the way right away. So when the paladin stabs a prisoner in the face, and he goes, well, I go, that's not very lawful good. And you go like, well, Bahamut wouldn't suffer the evil to live. And I'm like, it's stuff like, it really is stuff like that. The prisoner dilemma is a big one. You know, how a lawful good, you know, and you can easily interpret, you know, here I go arguing alignment again. You can easily interpret the brutality of a lawful good character, you know, the code of honor of a lawful good character, because it does take a lot of forms. And I really hate when people argue whether or not there is such a thing as absolute evil. You know, should I kill the orc babies because they're evil? And I'm like, well, they're not evil. They have, you know, trust me, I've been through every permutation of the fucking alignment argument possible. And part of the problem is that the DM really should know better than to put them in situations where you kind of raise that issue, because it really is, it just causes arguments, you know. But that's why I talk with it. I talk it over. But yeah, this is the first time where there's a class with alignment restrictions, which I like. Although I do wish, I really wish they'd bring back just all the alignments. I don't know what they do: lawful good, good, neutral, evil, and chaotic evil. They don't do lawful neutral. They don't do like the different shades of law and chaos. They just have like 5. They have 5. But I got other stuff too. The other thing I got, and again, this is where I start showing myself to be a real book whore. I got the Dungeon Master's token set. And really all this only has any use if you're playing around a table. Because it's basically cardboard tokens. Hang on. Wrap the shit out of this. It's cardboard tokens, and what you'll notice when you start playing this game a lot, and you start to get higher level, is that monsters will throw status effects around like they're candy. And it actually is kind of hard for you to mark them. And so I actually mentioned before that... How is this sealed in there? Come out. I mentioned before that I made little cards of status effects, like if they're dazed, I actually have like a little sign that comes down and says, oh, you're dazed. Here's what the status effect means. This actually does something similar, where, fuck me. There we go. Tight fit. It's got this little wooden box with Dungeons and Dragons on it. Upside down. And what it's got, I might just show you the box itself. Oh, sorry. Yeah, this one's not as interesting. I'll probably just show you the box. It's got this little bag of counters in it, and it's got little subdivisions for trays. And really, this is just kind of a cool tray for gaming in general. Before I'll argue price point in a second, but if you've got a little party of 6 characters, you can keep little miniatures in there, and you can keep your tokens separated in here. And as for the tokens, you've got... This is gimmicky, I admit it, but as a D&D geek, I got a real problem, as I told you. You've got these little tokens that mark status effects, and they fit on the battle map. And it's got markers that show who's marked. You know, fighters do marking, various status effects like that. Markers to show who's bloodied. Markers to show... I don't know why there's a dead body marker. Apparently you can write on them with wet erase markers. Yeah, there's like ongoing damage. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in this game where people have ongoing damage. They have poison effects. They have markings on them, and it's actually really hard to keep track of that at some point, because when you've got 6 characters fighting 6 monsters, all of them throwing different status effects around, it's kind of hard to keep track of. And so I think these markers are actually going to do a lot to help keep track. And so as a DM, it's hard to keep track of, the fighter goes, well, he's marked, and if he moves away from me, well, that's going to be a problem. He'll take 5 damage ongoing until he saves. This guy's on fire. He's going to take 4 damage ongoing until he saves. He's also blinded. It really is a nightmare. What I really liked about this one, though, is the lid of the box is lined with felt. So it's a little rolling surface. You can have you roll your dice in there, and it keeps them neatly organized, and it's kind of segregated from the rest of the table. You can have your own rolling space. You can consecrate this as your own little rolling space. I like it. And, like I said, you can kind of keep this as your little kit. You can have your stuff in here, and it's... Is it worth... What did I pay for it? $25, I think it was? I don't know. It's a DM tool. That's all it is. When the DM starts whipping those things out. Could the DM easily make those himself? Yeah. But the little felt surface sold me. I don't know. I was like kind of squeed with that one. I was all, felt, yay! A little rolling surface. Stuff like that. Okay. So, the other thing. I was really excited about this one. Monster Vault. Which really is just the monster manual for essentials. And I'm a little curious, and I'm not going to read this book in front of the camera for a while, just because it would take forever. But just thought we'd see what's inside. I really like... one of the things I was always really disappointed by with 4th edition was I liked the monster manual, but there's not enough monsters. Because when you're running a game, you really do have to choose monsters that are a balanced level to the party. And that's a problem. Because in a book that small, the space is limited, of course. So, if you want a first level encounter, you've got a list of like 30 monsters from which to choose. Which is not a lot. It really restricts you. So when you're kind of... This may sound a little silly, but... when you're designing your adventure, you kind of have to design them around the 30 monsters in the monster manual. So, it can get repetitive, in a hurry. It restricts you. That's all I'm saying. And so, believe me, you always want to have more choice than less. And so there was not a lot of choice available in the other monster manuals. And what got to be a real problem was. You've got 3 different monster manual books, each one with a different index, and so if you're looking through monsters, you have to look through 3 different books. That's why I actually like the D&D Insider Vault, not the Vault, what do they call it? Adventure Tools. You can search for first level monsters and it lists them all off, and I like that a lot because just because you want to have a balanced encounter set. And actually, the balance is another one of those things. Here's where I complain again about something I really liked. Here's the thing, that I got killed in Jason's campaign because of this. In AD&D, when there's a monster, that monster is a certain difficulty level. In 4th edition, it's almost like World of Warcraft, where when you're walking around and you see a wolf, that wolf could be first level, or if you're in the later zones, that could be a dire hell wolf. That has the same picture, but it's a level 35. And if your first level character tried to take it, it'll fucking kill him. You have that little handy text over if the text is red, you don't fuck with it. In 4th edition, my first level character ran into a pack of goblins. And thinking, oh, well, there's 6 of us and there's 6 goblins. This is a fair fight. In fact, I kind of pity the fools because... Goblins suck. Goblins are weak. Goblins have in AD&D they have 4 hit points. They're nothing. So we fought the goblins and I got killed because these goblins were goblin berserkers or something like that, and they were essentially 4th level characters who hit harder in a normal hit than I had hit points. So they were rolling like D10 plus 6 for damage. These fucking goblins were obscene. So they kind of do this thing in fourth edition where you've got these monsters, but the monsters have like scaled difficulty. So there's goblins for beginners, there's goblins for 5th level or roundabout, and then there's like Paragon tier goblins who are it's kind of hard to predict what level or what is takeable in 4th edition, because it's dependent on level, and even among certain certain monster types, they are subclassified to lesser and greater extents, and it's hard to tell at face value what you can take. It's really weird. So yeah, we ran into 4th level fucking goblins, and Jason still refuses to apologize to this day. I feel misled. I didn't know that goblins came in 4th level ass kicking variety. I would not have called that, because in AD&D there's one type of goblin, and that goblin sucks. You fight goblins at 1st level. That was just obvious, you know. I didn't know there were fucking berserker fucking Conan goblins. Anyway, what's in the book? There is an adventure called Cairn of the Winter King, a role-playing game adventure for 4th level characters. I won't complain about new adventures. I don't know why it's in the monster manual. It's got map. And, oh wow. Wowie wow. We've got all sorts of monster tokens. In fact, this is probably the entire box is monster tokens. Yeah. Although it does have some interesting features. I'll explain how. You've got monsters on this side, and you've got probably what this signifies as bloodied, when monsters are at half their hit points, which characters always know. And when there's multiple types of monsters, I don't know if you can see that, they are numbered. So it's easy to refer to them by number. That's kind of cool. Unfortunately... Oh, by the way, on Gamma World, I didn't see the page numbers, but the page numbers are there. I was just looking in the wrong spot. I'm noob, apparently. It's the first book I've ever read. What do you want? Although, I'm not sure this is a real complaint, but there's no names on the monsters. Now, some of them need no introduction, but some of these, I don't know what the fuck they are. I guess you're just supposed to pick out monsters by just look. You know, if there's a hairy dude, you know, pick out a hairy dude. I guess you can just say that, but it would maybe help to have monster names. Even for stuff that's readily identifiable, like the carrion, the carrion crawler, right there. I don't know. Part of me says that having names on the tokens would just kind of be disruptive and really break up the art flow. On the other hand, I don't know what some of this shit is. There's a giant ochre jelly. I even know what an ochre jelly is. Place a large creature. Oh, these are purple worm, frost giant, white dragon, Umbra Hulk. Wow, I'm gonna have to recognize these on sight. Yeah, you've got all these different sheets with cardboard tokens on them, which is cool. I like having miniatures. I'm kind of old school that way, where I used to have all these little pewter miniatures. A lot harder to carry around and hard to store. It's always been a problem for having a lot of miniatures and even tokens. I guess tokens are easier to store, but how do you store them? You know, like, sure, you throw them on a bin, but what do you do when you want to find one? You know, let's say I want to find a Mephit. You know, like, I want to find this one. There's one of them. Where do I look? Like, I throw them on a Tupperware bin, and I just start digging through till I find. I'm never going to find it in time. The game is going to stop. So maybe I got to find them before the adventure starts. Still take a while to dig through all these hundreds and hundreds of tokens. I don't know. That's if you guys have an organized system, or like, I guess I've seriously known some people who have like huge tackle boxes, and they have little bins sorted by, you know, by name, of course, which is why I was initially thinking like, oh well, if we had like bins by name. I knew a guy who had little plastic bins, and he would say like, okay, this is a bin of insectoid creatures, and this is a bin of female adventurers, and this is dwarves, and you know, he basically had this little ad hoc system of classifications where he had various genus of monsters laid out, and he had endless bins of monsters that would lay out. So if you wanted to find something, you'd go, oh, this is winged humanoids, and you'd take the bin and you'd start looking. It worked. It was a little slower, but it was a system, I guess. I'm just not sure how you go through these and get out what you wanted quickly. It'd be tough. Let me know if you guys have a system, because I'm actually kind of curious. I'd like to keep these organized, because I'm kind of anal that way. Yeah, so the only thing left in the book is the book itself. Or in the box is the book itself. Interesting. Wow. Hang on. Huh. I'm actually not sure if there's even much of a difference. Oh, I see. Here's something here. Let's see if I can focus. It'll say like, okay, Kobold Tunneler, and that's what it looks like. That's not in the 4th edition book, the original Monster Manual. So I guess if you look through here, each one has its picture. At least that's kind of a guide. You know, that'll help. Let's see. Here, let me see if I can find the goblin for you. I want to show you this. Fucking piss me off. Goblin. Okay. Now, you've got your basic goblin, which is like a level 1 skirmisher, or a level 1 minion artillery, which is fine. You got like a hobgoblin leader, who's kind of obviously a leader because he's like a level 3, what is he? Controller. But it says leader, and he's kind of he's a little. If Jason said, "Oh well, he's got this this skull headdress on, and he's he's like shaking a stick at you," I'd be like, "Oh, okay, he's a leader. He's not to be taken lightly." But then you've got Hobgoblin Spear Soldier. This is what we faced. No, it wasn't. We got. Oh, these are different. These are different. But you've got. What the fuck? They did knock these down because what I'm looking at is hobgoblins, which are very different from normal goblins. We didn't face hobgoblins; we faced normal goblins. All right, okay, so that is a little different. But yeah, the goblins we faced in 4th edition were 4th level. Fuck you, god damn, that was lame. Hated that shit. All right. What else was I saying about the monsters? The adventure looks interesting. It actually looks like I always like adventures that take you to that are kind of specialized. So this one looks like it takes you up a snowy mountain because Winter King and stuff like that. I always like adventures that give you excuses to go to weird and interesting places. That gets you on a ship, for instance. Any adventure that lets you get on a boat and experience all those weird nautical creatures you never get to use otherwise. By the way, whenever you're playing a D&D game, anytime the DM is trying to get you on a ship or even like raft down the river, he is trying to fuck you in the ass, because this is always what happens. DM's looking through his fucking book and he's like, lizard men. I never get to use lizard men. Why? Because they live in the river. They never get out. They never try to cross a river. Every time there's a river trip, there's going to be lizard men. Just fucking count on it. It's going to happen. And so you don't even want to know what fucking happens when you get on like a ship across the sea. If you guys are ever trying to cross the sea, you might as well just pack it in, because there's going to be a fucking kraken. Because like I guarantee you looked in the monster manual, it's like a kraken. That's awesome. You're going to get a kraken. You're going to release the kraken on you. It's going to be bad. Every time that I guarantee you, boats are fucking death sentence in D&D. I know, because I used to be that guy who was like, they're going down the river and I'm like, you hear a scrabbling underneath the raft, and then lizard men jump up. That's always the way it is. So yeah, monster vaults. These are all DM tools, by the way. I think everything I've shown you so far is like a DM tool. The DM token set, the monster vault. You're never gonna need this if you're a player. Last thing I got. Well, no, not the last thing. I got more stuff. I don't even know if I should open this, really. Dungeon Master tile set. I actually was kind of skeptical about the dungeon tiles, but after using them in a local game, I really like them, because it helps to have that kind of it helps to have that color and presence in a game. to where, like, okay, you're in a castle or you're in a tavern, and then the guy throws down, he throws down a tavern. It looks like a tavern. It's got tables and it's got doors and it's got something. I hate to say it doesn't tax your imagination too much, but it doesn't. It works out well to help you visualize what he's going for and what counts as an obstacle and what doesn't. It helps you. It really does help the situation in the game. So, like, if you're in a tavern, and if I were just to draw like a rectangular room with doors and windows and stuff like that, I might forget something. I might not have time, or I might just leave out certain things like a tables or a bar or a little sinkhole, like a place where the floor has fallen out. And so that stuff has, when you throw down like a dungeon tile, those things exist. There's tables on the map. And it's easier to think about, even as a DM, what goes where in that room. It helps you visualize, like, okay, here, for instance, like here, I don't know how well you can see this, but this actually looks like a tavern area where you've got the stairs and you've got the common area and you've got a bar here, that kind of divides the room. If you're not familiar with that kind of architecture, just how that general room would look, it gives you some inspiration. And it really does, really for I think it's more for the DM than anything, helps you see what this place would look like and kind of in your mind's eye see what would go where and where a guy would hide if a guy was hiding back here. Like maybe he's hiding behind the stairs here. You could have a guy back here come out and surprise them. I really think for DMs it helps because it helps just little things, the walkway or where the windows are. I just think because I guess maybe my problem is I'm really terrible at art, but when you've got something like this to help visualize, you can build these places in a modular fashion as well. So you've got simple things like carts and cows and stuff like that, a forge. You got tables, chairs, stuff that represents difficult terrain. You can throw those down. Fences, broken doors. I really like it. Again, as I said with the monsters, the real problem with the monster tiles is how to keep them organized, which is a challenge. The guy I knew just had basically a gigantic Tupperware bin, and you just sifted through. And it didn't actually take that long. But these do this is actually a pretty good... It has a box, which I think is... It's almost like 3D terrain. These are like rooftops. You can probably cannibalize this box for terrain as well. It's divided up into little squares. That's kind of cool. I think the box is rather handy. Let me open this up again. That's all that's in there, though, is just the sheets of tiles. I guess I could open this up. Yeah, I'll do it. Let's see if there's anything that catches my eye here. I don't want to punch them out yet because they're cool. Okay, you got statues. You got bridges. That's kind of cool. Yeah. Gotta be careful. These punch really easily, actually. The sewer level. You've got like a canal with a bridge going across it. That's kind of neat. And they're double-sided, by the way, so there's shit on either side, which actually makes it really hard to find anything. The sewer outlet with lots of nice green sewage. I started collecting a bunch of dungeon tile sets because I also like the outdoors ones. The outdoors ones are even more useful because, again, I'm bad at drawing. There's a house, and it's kind of a modular house. You can break it up and build bigger houses with it. It works out really well. But I like the outdoors ones because the outdoors ones have terrain on them. It has trees, it has shrubs, it has changes in elevation, it has difficult terrain. It's actually one of those things that adds a lot of character to an encounter when there's just not hindering terrain. It makes the encounter like unfair, but just have that character of the area they're in. So like if they're camped up against a canyon wall, or if they're up on a hill to make camp or something like that, then you have that situation and you have the various terrain. It really does help them kind of organize a defense, helps them get into the mood. So otherwise I'm just like, I just roll out a mat and I draw like a couple half-assed trees, because again I suck. But for me it helps. And so as a DM tool, if you're really struggling to come up with interesting encounters, I really think these DM tiles are a great fit. They're not cheap. Well, they're cheaper than building your own terrain, but I'm actually not sure how much they cost now. This was a little pricey. I think this was probably $30. Let me see. Yeah, $30. You have the sewer, but this is actually a pretty comprehensive set of tiles. I mean, you've got outdoors, you've got town, you got village, you've got a gazebo, the deadly gazebo. You've got town market fruit carts. Cool stuff that way. You've got great floors. This is the open area stuff. A lot of sewer stuff for your dungeon needs. A weakness of the dungeon tile system: these don't actually snap together. They used to be kind of interlocking like puzzle pieces. And I don't know, maybe they got tired of that. Maybe they found it too limiting. But these just kind of push together. They don't have any kind of interlocking pieces. That's actually something that might, if you're a big aficionado of these type of things, if they don't lock together, that might be a problem, because you like your map to stay together. And actually, what I was saying a minute ago was that one of the problems of dungeon tiles is when the session's over, you have to put them away. More than likely, you have to put them away. And with a rollout map, you can actually keep them on the map. With like a vinyl map. I used to do that. I used to have like maps that would persist for like 2 to 3 weeks, which actually you shouldn't do, because when you leave wet erase markers on a vinyl map, odds are they kind of soak in and they stain, and they have done. But it was kind of cool whipping out the same map for a persistent encounter. On the other hand, a strength of these is if you drew a map of a location before. I've done this before, actually, where they had to fight in a throne room, and they had a huge climactic fight in this throne room, months ago. And so they had another huge climactic fight later on in that same throne room, and I didn't exactly remember how the throne room went. So if you actually compare the two maps I drew, if you could even find them, I doubt you could, but if you remember the last map, you'd be like, that throne room is nothing like the last throne room. And so I think it was almost identical, but probably not close. There was probably doors in different places, and so. But in this one, you could probably build the exact same throne room that way. I do have a special surprise. Well, that's all the D&D stuff I have. But here's where I start to really embarrass myself and start talking about where I've really got a addiction problem. So hang on a second. I got to go over there and get some stuff. Hang on. Dungeon Master set. The city. I got some other stuff, and you're going to laugh at me, but it's okay. Hang on. Okay. I got all sorts of stuff. You don't even want to know. I got a Song of Ice and Fire campaign guide. Now, I haven't read all of this yet, and actually I don't think I will ever read all of this. What this is it's a companion book to the Song of Ice and Fire RPG. Again, a game I will probably never ever play, but if I do, I'm going to be fucking ready. I love the Song of Ice and Fire novels. What this is basically every single character in the entire series statted. So if you want Robert Baratheon, there's stats for Robert Baratheon. If you want stats for Sandor Clegane, if you want the Hound in your book, I may have actually flipped right. No, I got Euron Greyjoy, Lord Balon Greyjoy. It's basically the campaign setting. That's what it is. So it kind of goes through every single region of Westeros. It's got maps. I'll show you one. Oh, I'll show you that. You've got maps of Westeros, which are actually really well done. The artwork in this is gorgeous. I love the artwork in this book. So great. There's actually a calendar of the Song of Ice and Fire artwork, which is very similar to this. I actually kind of want it. You've got stats for Lord Stannis Baratheon and Melisandre. Melisandre's a bad woman. She's a very bad woman. She does bad things. And Stannis loves it. But she's bad. It's got, honestly, the amount of detail in this book is staggering. Because, like I said, every single character, if you want Viserys Targaryen, he's in the book. It's got history and stats for every one of the noble houses. Like, every one of these. is a noble house, which I'm guessing were even mentioned in passing in the novel. Like some guys like, oh, this guy's from House Chelsted, and this is the standard. It's got a bent green and white crossed mace and silver dagger as its standard on the shield. I'm guessing that was like a one sentence description as one guy was walking past a pavilion at the jousting tournament. It's like, oh, we met a knight from House Chelsted, and the guy's like, okay, we'll fucking put that in there, you know. You got all these houses, what other houses they've sworn allegiance to. It's got maps. I mentioned that. It's got simple things. What taking the black means. It's got a history of Westeros. Huge spoilers for the novels. You would never want to read this if you haven't read the novels. Yeah, this is a pretty awesome book. And like I said, you'll pretty much never read all of this because what's the point? Like again, you know, you really only open this like if they go to King's Landing, you're going to open up the chapter to King's Landing. You've got a map of King's Landing. If they go to Dragonstone, you open up the book to Dragonstone. There's the map. There's everyone in it. That's it. I think the real appeal of A Song of Ice and Fire is not only are you adventuring in the Game of Thrones world, which is awesome, but there's always the chance you're going to accidentally kill a major plot character. I think that's really why people play it. Like, it doesn't take place during the War of the Usurper, like during the course of the novels. It takes place, I think, just after Robert gains the throne, which is not spoilers. Don't worry about that. It takes place in that period just between the novels and when Robert takes the throne. And I really think the reason you play the game is so there's always the chance that someone accidentally gets a lance through the eye. So there's that. I think there's an adventure called Peril at King's Landing, which I think starts off with a joust to celebrate Robert's ascension to the throne. And so, I don't know, maybe like, I just know that somebody's going to be like, I'm going to enter the jousting tournament because I hear Jaime Lannister's going to be there. So you're probably not going to beat him, but there's always that chance for the random crit. You're going to cave Jaime's fucking head in. Then the novels are in deep shit. So the DM's got to think on his feet. And all of a sudden you've got a world without Jaime Lannister. And yeah, it's always a problem. I don't know. It sounds like fun to me. I would love to play this, but the problem, the real crippling flaw to this game is everyone involved has to be a fan of the books. I don't see any other way around it. I don't think there is. Like, if there's one person who doesn't know anything about these novels, they're going to be lost. Like I said, it even takes place outside of novel continuity, so it's not like you need to have an intimate knowledge of the characters or how they interact. Like, you could be some clueless dude, I guess. But even so, there's so much history with the Targaryens and, you know, what the Targaryens did, their ancestry of madness and stuff like that. You know, the really unique way they handle the old gods and the new, the type of religion, the Septons and stuff like that. He really does establish over the course of the novels this really unique, you know, culture. And if you're not familiar with the culture, you're going to be so left in the dust. I really think you have to be a fan of the novel. And so getting together a group of like 5-6 fans of the novels, I tried. I did. It didn't happen. Now, I don't exactly live in an area that's conducive to playing RPGs, obviously, but yeah, this is a hard sell. I don't know. So, oh yeah, this one was just for me. This is Bloodstained Stars, which is a book I couldn't find online at all. What this really is, it's basically campaign fluff for a special campaign for The Burning Wheel, one of the games with the worst covers I've ever seen in my life. Great game, shitty cover. Burning Wheel is one of those games I will probably never ever likely play. But I can appreciate it for its artistry. This is, Bloodstained Stars is a sci-fi setting for Burning Wheel called Iron Empires, I believe. I think they call it Burning Stars or something like that in the setting. Let's see. Oh, here's one. I'm actually kind of curious about this one. I picked this up on impulse. It's a sci-fi RPG called Eclipse Phase, and it actually doesn't say anything on the back. I was a little disturbed by the lack of a blurb on back, just trying to explain what this is. It says, the role-playing game of transhuman conspiracy and horror. And you can see on the cover there's a guy getting blown out of a spaceship and some Cthulhuid monster spearing him through the chest. Oh, like, okay, I'm sold. It says, your mind is software, your body is a shell. Death is a disease, extinction is approaching. So, the artwork is great. Really. I like it. But I have not even... I just kind of flipped through it, and I thought, okay, this is kind of interesting. It's sci-fi horror. It looks to me kind of like if Dead Space were an RPG. And I kind of dug that. It just from the general look of it. It looks a little different than that, of course. They have this big thing called transhumanism, where, let me see. It's an intellectual and cultural movement that endorses the use of science and technology to enhance the human condition physically and mentally. Yeah. So it's like, it almost looks like Cthulhu Punk. You know, it's that mix of cyberpunk and Call of Cthulhu, which I kind of dig. So I'm kind of curious about this one. I'm probably going to read through it in my spare time and just kind of check it out. Looks well made. Artwork looks fine. Yeah. Looks fine to me. And now, again, this is where I call myself a real book whore, because if I'm ever likely to do this kind of game, I probably wouldn't open this book up. I would probably just get people together to play GURPS and play like Traveler or even the Cthulhu Punk version of GURPS. I don't know. Again, this is where I'm such a book whore. You should actually see the shelves of books I have that you haven't even seen yet with all the RPG books on them. Now, the crown jewel. My friend Rob sold this to me because I didn't even know this existed, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. You're not ready for this. You see that? It's Know Your Role, the World Wrestling Entertainment role-playing game. I guess you could call it a Know Your Role-playing game. So, yeah, this is a book from Comic Images. It says, booze rain down on your opponent. The capacity crowd makes it known that they don't appreciate his heel antics. Neither do you. And you like his steel chair shot across your skull last week even less. It's not just about payback when you step inside the ring, but a chance to cement your legacy on the biggest stage of them all. World Wrestling Entertainment. This is an OGL-based role-playing game that thrusts you into the body-slamming, pile-driving, high-octane world of sports entertainment. Take on the role of your favorite WWE superstar or create your own, and commence kicking butt on your quest for championship glory. All you need are a handful of dice, a character sheet, and a few friends who dare to test your ring prowess. Oh, and you'd better bring some attitude. The Attitude Era is over. Okay. Now again, I haven't read this. I've only flipped through it. But I'm curious. Let me see. Let me see if there's pre-made characters. I don't think there are. Oh, there are. Okay. Who can I play as? Chapter 8. The most electrifying roster in sports entertainment. Okay. I can play as The Rock. I can play as Triple H. Triple H is looking really young in this book, too. Chris Jericho. Edge. Natch. You think you know him as one of the brightest young superstars of the WWE. Toronto's favorite son vowed to become a superstar. Rhino. Tajiri. We're kind of skipping ahead alphabetically. Ooh. Can be Trish Stratus. What is that? The Hurricane? I could be the Hurricane. Oh my god. Or, there's, if you've ever wondered what the stats for Jonathan Coachman are, worry no more. You've also got Earl Hebner and Eric Bischoff and The Undertaker. Ooh, is this Biker Taker? Might be. Kurt Angle. Hang on. Eric Bischoff, the unscrupulous general manager of Raw, enjoys his position of power. He regularly shocks his fans by making selfish yet entertaining decisions regarding what happens on his show. What's his bullshit rating? Bluff plus 14. This is D20 system, you gotta remember. Because if you're gonna play a WWE RPG, D20 system's the way to go. Oh. Eddie Guerrero. Although Eddie's fight with addiction is well documented to SmackDown fans, it hasn't dampened his amazing rapport with the fans or his ability to arouse them. With his trademarked lowrider, he's found a new addiction, a drive to win, and he's willing to cheat, lie, and steal for any title. Awkward. What's his constitution? Because I think it's too high. Constitution's 13. That's about right. Bubba Ray Dudley. Tori Wilson. Tori. What's her charisma? 18? My mind just blew. Tori Wilson's charisma is 18. Bordering on superhuman, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to see what Trish Stratus's charisma was. Excuse me, okay. Let's see. Trish Stratus, 18. Tori Wilson is every bit as charismatic as Trish Stratus. Oh, it's true. It's damn true. Oh my God. Theodore Long. His charisma is only 14. And Paulie Heyman, 14. Okay. See if you can guess what her signature move... No, her finishing maneuver is the neck breaker. Okay. Wow. I have nothing to contribute to that, except that Tori Wilson has an 18 charisma. Sadly, they don't have Al Wilson statted in there, but I'm guessing his charisma could be even higher. Okay, I should just end the review there. Tori Wilson. I was looking through the feats. Really, this isn't... I have no idea how the combat works, but it's D20. Wow, look at Paulie and Rob Van Dam there. Really early photos. By the way, this is a great cover, by the way. Two ugly fucking dudes grimacing in pain where it looks like one guy's about to butt sex the other. Yeah, that's good. And I really think they missed out an opportunity to pun the word roll. Roll. I don't know. Let's see. Interfere. Oh, there's classes. Hang on. Hang on, I gotta see this. Multi-class characters. What the fuck? Oh, hang on. This is gonna be good. Hang on. I'm sorry. I'm taking base attack bonus. Character classes. Class section, page 19. There we go. Okay. First class. Aerial Superstar. Look at that elevation, Taz. He launched himself straight into the stratosphere. Yeah, and I wouldn't want to be the poor guy underneath him when he comes down. We got guys like Chavo Guerrero, Christian Edge, Matt Hardy, Molly Holly, Scotty 2 Hottie, and Victoria, an aerial superstar. Wow. Okay. Power superstar. Rough superstar. Like Danny Basham, Doug Basham, Mick Foley, Hardcore Holly, Rosie, and Tyson Tomko. This book is awesome. Savvy superstar. Like John Cena, and Ric Flair, Eddie Guerrero, Randy Orton, Stevie Richards, Trish Stratus. This is all over the map. This must have been when John Cena was still heel. Had to be. Technical superstar like Kurt Angle, Shelton Benjamin, Chris Benoit, Rob Conway, Rene Dupree, Eugene, Sylvain Grenier, Charlie Haas, Orlando Jordan, William Regal, Kenzo Suzuki, and Val Venus. Enzo Suzuki? I remember that guy. He sucked. Oh my god, he sucked so bad. And he's Val Venus and Rob Conway. And of course, managers. Wow. Oh, Lita. There's a picture of Lita here. You can't see it. I'm saving that one for me. And you have to start off on Velocity. WWE Velocity. Okay, now, I remember there were some good feats here. Okay, feats. I'm just going to read the names and get you interested, and then I'm going to close the book up. Okay. Aerial maneuvers proficiency. Bat out of hell. Okay, bat out of hell. You gain a +2 bonus to dexterity rolls in a chase and reflex saves versus countout. Can of whoop ass. After taking a beating, you can whip yourself into a frenzy and tear into your opponent like a berserk madman. Cheap shot artist. Extra finisher. You have developed an extra finishing maneuver. It's like Sting. Sting took that feat 5 times. Giant killer, gut check, heat machine, imposing. What's the one where you no-sell everything? Ah, impervious. You have a preternatural aura of invincibility. You can remain unhurt from an attack, shaking off damage completely. John Cena and The Undertaker have taken that feat 7 times. You can reduce damage from 1 attack to 0 with a successful fortitude check. DC equals damage dealt. You can use this feat a number of times per match or segment equal to your constitution modifier. Yeah, he has that. Lightning reflexes, low center of gravity. Moonlighting. You are hardworking and have developed a nice career or two outside of sports entertainment. Quicker than a hiccup. Smelled a fish. Testicular fortitude. Prerequisite. Great fortitude. You have the guts to fight off blows that would knock an average superstar for a loop. Wow. And we have a classic picture of the Hurricane chokeslamming Ric Flair. A moment that really should have been immortalized in my memory, but somehow let that one slip. Jonathan Coachman got his own picture. That's neat. There's a picture of good old JR and the King. The King looks happy to be here. Jim Ross is not amused with your bullshit. He looks so... Take your fucking picture, buddy. By God, I hate this fucking game. Jim Ross. Oh, Jim. We're almost done here. You actually have to buy your maneuvers. You can only have a certain number of maneuvers. John Cena wrestling Orlando Jordan. Tajiri. What happened to you, Tajiri? Is it Rhino Goring Rene Dupree? I can't believe I remember Rene Dupree. Eric Bischoff. A lot less hair back then, but looks the same as ever. Who the fuck is that? Who is that? Who is this? I have no clue who that is. Oh, God. I can't even begin to tell me. This was after the brand split, apparently. It's got the 2 different titles for each brand. Before the spinner belt, however. Cruiserweight Championship, Women's Championship. Taz and Michael Cole in Happier Times. Yeah. All right. Well, it may actually surprise you to know that there was a WWF RPG before this, and I think I own it. We're talking WWF in the Hulk Hogan Ultimate Warrior area, like 1984. I think I have that book. I'm going to go look see if I have that, but not right now. Yeah, that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed my odyssey through Very Strange Role-Playing Game and a brief peek into my own perpetual madness and inability to control my instincts when it comes to blind buying games I have no knowledge about and will probably never ever play. But, you know, I guess there's worse, more damaging habits to have. So, until next time, everybody, you guys have fun and keep gaming.